I want to take a few minutes to show you this really neat old newspaper. It's from 1943. We're going through some of my grandparents' things and we found this thing, and just a really unique, very rare kind of a paper. You just aren't going to see this very often. If you like history, you're going to like this thing, and it's got something interesting too in it about Hollywood propaganda. So let me show you this. Okay, here you can see the newspaper. Of course you can't see real great detail right now, but just wanted to show you that, just a shot of the whole thing. This is a 1943 Philadelphia Inquirer, not to be confused with the National Enquirer. This is a more respectable paper here. You can see a little bit of the inside. Again, I'll show a little bit more detail as we continue, but look at that map. Isn't that something? For a 1943 newspaper, that's pretty impressive. I mean, you aren't going to see that very often, a full collar printout like that. Pretty neat, but I'll show more detail about that in just a minute or two here. Very interesting article right here. We're going to look at this behind the veneer. I'm going to show you some interesting things in there. Very interesting article. A lot of these old ads and everything. And then this interesting thing here on the back. This young lady up here shot a bear. And then down here is a advertisement for toothpaste, or toothbrushing powder. Not paste, but powder. Doesn't say anything about it being fluoridated. It's kind of interesting. But let me zoom in here. We'll get a better view of this. Something must have happened to Father. And of course you got the toothpaste is great here and everything. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying toothpaste because that's what I'm used to. Tooth powder. But rather interesting there. Let me flip it over here to the front. Get this, some of the details of this thing on video here. See the date there is August 1st of 1943. Philadelphia Inquirer. You can see there the Soviet Union. Down in there, Japan, Pacific Ocean. That goes down to Australia. Pretty interesting. New Zealand there. Solomon Islands. Full color map of Europe appears on pages 4 and 5. And it says here, scope of our offensive against Japan. Now let's look inside this thing. Here you have an article on backyard parties. Some neat old photographs there. Drama of compressed food. Taking a glimpse at a passing show. Interesting little photographs there. There you have a thing about Walt Disney getting the breaks. I should try to zoom in a little bit here. You can pause it and read it if you want. Some info there on Walt Disney. Here you have paying his debt to Pop. An article here on people that have 12 children. Just some interesting things here. Probably some of this isn't really interesting to some people, but late Sir Henry Oakes, whose fabulous career ended in tragedy. I'm not even sure who that is. Cave Point tragedy. You go over there. This picture here. You can see the caption there. A couple more pictures here on this page. I'll show you quick here. Screen star at 5 but homeless. Jackie Jenkins. Again, a lot of these names I'm not very familiar with. So, but interesting. Just wanted to show some of that detail. But now this page here is really kind of a neat thing. Probably I'm going to frame this eventually because this is just something that you aren't going to see very often. Follow with flags the invasion campaigns against the Axis in Europe. And then what you would do is you would have, here you have your little American flag, little Great Britain flag, USSR, the fighting French, China over here. And then you got your little Nazi flags here, little swastikas. Let me zoom in here so we can see better detail. Excuse me. Germany, there you have Italy, there you have Japan. You can paste the flag on the related area. And then down here you have the different symbols explained: fortifications, naval bases, air bases, railroads, canals, oil, and iron. There you have a little picture of, or drawing of Sicily. Then you can see here some of these countries going up into Turkey. Over here, heading up towards the Soviet Union, Russia. You can see a lot of the little things there. I'll zoom in here in just a minute, but going down into Egypt, over into Libya, Algeria. There's a picture storming the beaches. Morocco, Spain, France, Germany, Great Britain, Ireland. There's Scotland. We have another picture up here of a bombing. There you have Iceland. So let me go down in here to where a lot of the war was focused, down here in Germany and France. Let me zoom in here so you can see some of these little symbols. Of course, there you have the airfield, little symbol for the airfield. Here you have iron works. These little checkered line, or little lines like that, are railroads. Pretty interesting. And then these little symbols here are fortifications. So there you have fortifications along this area here. And a little bit more idea there. There's more iron, more fortifications, more airports, railroads all over the place. If there's any canals here in the immediate vicinity, but there you have a symbol for a naval base right there. Up here to the UK. See the different little symbols and things there. A lot of air bases rather, not airports, but air bases. Some more naval yards up in here. So, but you zoom back out here. Pretty interesting map. Like I said, you aren't going to see this very often. This was actually, as I mentioned earlier, this was in with some of my grandparents' things as we're going through the house. Just really, really neat to see. Let me turn here to the next page. I want to show you some things. Very interesting here what this article is about up here at the top. Actually, I'll show you some ads first before we get to the article. From Spinning of the Jury Wheel. Not sure what that's about. I didn't read that article. Gotta be real gentle with this thing. Softer, smoother skin. with just 1 cake of Kamei. I don't know if they make that stuff anymore. Maybe they do. I'm just not familiar with it. There's a thing, advertisement for corns. Thing there. What shall I do? I guess it's something for new brides or whatever. on a shoestring, talking about how to make things, how to prepare corn on and off the cob. So interesting. But I want to show you this article here. I'm going to zoom in on this as best I can so you can read it. You can pause the video and read it. This woman here, Mrs. Edna R. Carroll, head of Pennsylvania State Board of Motion Pictures or Picture Censors. And she goes into the thing here of how that she goes around and watches movies at the theater, and how she has been watching them for many years, but how that she is disturbed by the fact that they're now being used for propaganda and mind control. And you can see it goes down here. Talking about how different movies are good for thrilling and adventure and whatever. Says there, my complaint is the motion picture is ceasing to be a medium of entertainment to become a medium of propaganda. Isn't that interesting? What was once solely a source of entertainment now is intending to become an important molder of public opinion. Absolutely true. What's being said right there, Hollywood is used to influence public opinion. It is mind control. She goes into some more there. Go up this way. See if I can flatten it out a little bit for you. I'm not going to read all this. You can read it, and if you want to. Talking about the Russians coming in and spreading propaganda, communist propaganda. Excuse me, I can't get it out. It says again, they are essentially propaganda films produced, directed, and distributed by the Soviet government of selected subjects intended to foster our attention on the military, industrial, and educational strength of Russia, conspicuous in absence is the mention of communism, revolution, religion. We only see what they would have us see, which leads naturally to that most outrageous production for propaganda purposes ever to have reached the screen. And she talks about the one here, Mission to Moscow. Goes down through there. Okay. Now up here we have this picture. It's an artist rendition. And isn't that interesting how they realized what Hollywood's all about? Satan is using it to control people. Very interesting. Secular newspaper back then. Once solely a source of entertainment, the screen now spreads propaganda. The trend is definite, the danger potent. Here we go, continuing with the article. Let me do it this way. Actually, I'll have to go this way here. Like I said, I'm not going to be able to go through this really slow. Just have to pause it and read the article if you're interested. If not, just skip ahead in the video. Okay, I'll zip up here quick. I could probably even zoom in a little bit more for you, since we're only doing one column at a time. Now look at this here. The danger of concentrated control of theme by the federal government and the propagandizing of the people has been recognized by Congress in the recent cut in appropriation to OWI, presumed to be aimed at the motion picture branch of the Bureau. All these excursions into the field of propaganda via the movies are part of a pattern of regimentation which is diametrically opposed to representative free government, whether it emanates from an industry or from a government. Interesting last paragraph there in that article. So there you have that. Now I'll show you the last page here in detail. Shooting supper. Gets into this young woman here out hunting for bear. There she got one. And you go down here to this tooth powder ad again. So interesting. They say about how that down here, I'll zoom in on this. This is kind of an interesting little thing. Special wartime container. In some parts of the country you may get Colonos tooth powder in a glass container. This is due to wartime shortages of packaging materials. But be assured you get the same quantity and quality as in other containers. So, very interesting. Say it louder. Colonos powder. So, interesting old advertisement there for powder, toothbrush powder, or toothbrushing powder versus paste. Pretty interesting. So there we have the old newspaper. Hope you'd like to take a look at that. So there you have it. And by the way, while we're on the subject of Hollywood propaganda, I just want to throw in a little video clip here showing that it still is very much Hollywood is a propaganda arm, and actually the Pentagon has an office of propaganda. And so we're going to conclude with that. Thank you very much for watching this. Check this video out.
The Pentagon even set up a direct link to Hollywood, opening its own office in this building in downtown Los Angeles. The U.S. Navy, Air Force, Army, and Marines all work out of this office. Each military branch is directly involved in films that portray it in action. Lieutenant Joshua Rushing is second in command at the Marine Motion Picture Liaison Center.
Here's the file on Top Gun and the script for Top Gun with Paramount.
Lieutenant Rushing's job is to review scripts, make corrections, and propose changes that would give a more accurate portrayal of the Marines.
On this one, for example, the kind of rifle they had in the beginning, the writer puts in an M4 rifle, which we don't use, and so we changed that to an M16A4. Sometimes the Navy and the Marine Corps are so close to the writer that they get our roles a little mixed up, so we'll think they had the Navy here where maybe it should have been the Marine Corps.
When he's done, his notes go to Washington.
Like this one, it's all kind of flagged, and it'll generally have notes and be written on. You'll find notes written throughout here. I'll take an email and I'll do up all the pages that I have problems or questions about, and just enumerate those for the producer. And then I email them to the producer and to the Pentagon, our boss up at the Pentagon, so he knows what we're doing and what concerns we have.
The final decision on whether the military will be involved in filming a war movie or not is made at the Defense Department in Washington. A special bureau handles all relations between the military and the entertainment industry. It is headed by retired Navy Colonel Philip Strupp.
When filmmakers approach us with a request for military production assistance, we see this as a great opportunity to tell the American public something about the U.S. military and help recruiting and retention at the same time. And we've seen recently in surveys that large numbers of Americans base their primary impressions of the U.S. military from entertainment movies and TV shows. A significant number of people. So it's even proved scientifically that it's in our best interest to try to be involved in the process.
Top Gun, made in 1986, marks a milestone in the history of the military's cooperation with the entertainment industry. This huge box office hit turned around the military's flagging image. The U.S. Air Force saw a sharp jump in recruiting, and Tom Cruise's glamorous charm certainly had something to do with it.